Hello, hello, hello. I am the Linux Mensch. Today, I fell into the void. That's right. And I'm going to do a full installation of the Void Linux operating system. I'm going to take a look at it, and I'm going to configure it to the way I like it to be. And I created new configuration files specifically designed for Void Linux. They're in my GitLab repository. So I'm going to download them, show you what they are, and they're free for you to use. So let's get to it. So I'm at the Void distribution website. And the thing about Void, it's very interesting because most Linux distributions are built on top of Debian or Arch Linux. But Void is a distribution that's by itself. They have their own package manager. They built it themselves. It's not built on Debian or Arch Linux. And it's kind of like, well, not really, but like BSD. If you have, recently I did a video on Ghost BSD, which is built upon FreeBSD. And FreeBSD, I'm not sure if it's built on OpenBSD or not, but the BSDs are their own entity. So besides the BSDs, Arch Linux, Debian Linux, and Void Linux, every other distribution is built on Arch or Debian. So I'm only saying that to emphasize that Void Linux is its own distribution. It has its own package manager, and it's its own separate thing. And right here, it says right here, it's not a fork. And you know what? I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. There you go. So this is the website. It's not a fork. It's a stable rolling release. The package manager is XBPS. It's built on Run It. Well, it uses Run It. So it doesn't have systemd in it. Now, there's a lot of people who don't like systemd, a lot of haters. I like systemd. I don't have a problem with it. I like it because I know all the commands. But it doesn't use systemd, it uses Run It. And there's more information down here. And they had a new release on March 14th. So just several weeks ago, they had a new release. And I'm going to download it, update it, and configure it. So what I did was I went here to download. And there's two types you can download. First of all, it comes with, well, you can download a real base one, or you can download one with a desktop environment, which is the Xfce desktop. And you can download one that comes with glibc, or is it called glibc, or muscle. And to be honest with you, I don't know what they are really. Sorry. But it's a little over my head. Anyways, I downloaded this one, the Xfce live image. Now I'm not going to download it now because I already did it. Okay, so now I'm going to close. Oh, and before I even do that, another thing too, while I'm on the website, they have a really good documentation page. It's very good. It's almost maybe just as good as the Arch Linux wiki. And they have chapters here that explain how to install it, how to do different things in it, how to use the package manager, and how to troubleshoot. So this is really handy. So I'm going to close my web browser. So I've already created a virtual machine. I'm going to go through an install and configure it to the way I like it and take a look at it. Also, the thing that's interesting is that even though the ISO comes with a full desktop environment, it's only 1.1 gig. That's really small. Now, I know when I do a base install of Arch Linux or Debian, they are net installs. So, of course, the ISO is small, a little bit just under a gig. But this is only 1.1 gig, even though it has a full desktop environment right on the CD or the DVD. So, I'm impressed. And it only took, maybe a half a minute or a minute to download the ISO. And like I said, I've created a virtual machine, so let's take a look at it. So I'm logged on to the live ISO of Void Linux. And of course, it's the Xfce desktop environment. And right now, I'm not going to take a look at the system. I'm just going to go right into an install. Now, they don't have an icon here, like most distributions have an icon here. You can click on, the icon is called install. You click on the icon and it starts the installer. This doesn't. You have to go into the terminal. And I'm just going to make it a little bigger. So I'm going to make the font a little bigger. I'm going to hold down the shift key and the control and use my wheel on the mouse. There you go. And I'm going to type in sudo void dash installer. I'm going to hit enter. And this comes up. So I'm going to hit enter again. I'm going to hit enter to go into the keyboard. And this installer reminds me of the installer for FreeBSD, which I just did a short while ago. It's very similar. So I'm just going to go down. I'm going to use my page down because I'm going to click on the US keyboard. So let's just go to the end. There it is here, US. I'm going to highlight it and hit enter. Now I'm going to click on network. And the network is working properly. I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to click on source. So here it's telling you can do a base install, or you can do locally. You can install everything from the image. And that's the one I'm going to do, and that's the default. So I'm going to hit OK. Now we're on mirrors. So I'm going to go to mirror. Now it's telling you, you can read this. I'm not going to read the thing to you, but it's telling you it's better if you pick a tier 1 mirror. They have tier 2 mirrors, but tier 1 mirror is managed by the Void Linux team. So I'm going to go with a tier 1 mirror. I'm going to hit enter and use my arrows to go down to North America. I click enter. Now they have a mirror in Chicago. Now I'm in Canada, I'm in Toronto, but Chicago is good enough for me, and it's a tier 1 mirror, which means it's a mirror that's managed by the Void Linux developers, okay, or the maintainers. So I'm going to click that on, and I'm going to click OK. And the mirror was successfully changed to the one in Chicago. I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going to click on host name. So I'm going to type in, the host name is going to be void. Should I make it void? Actually, this is my third one. I'm going to do void-3. The 3 just stands for because I went through 2 installs to prepare myself for the video. Okay, so I'm going to call this void3 just so now I don't confuse myself as to which one I'm in. Now it's asking for the locale. I'm going to hit enter. This really reminds me of the FreeBSD installer. And the locale, I'm going to go page down to English _CA. That's the one I want. And that's the one I use when I'm doing my Arch installs, my manual Arch installs. So I'm going to hit enter. Now it's asking for time zone. So I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to go to America. And this is all keyboard driven. I'm not using my mouse. Okay. And I'm going to hit the end button to go right to the bottom. And I'm going to go up, use my arrow buttons to go up to Toronto because I'm in Toronto. And hit enter. Now it's asking for a root password. I'm going to type in my root password. And I'm going to enter it again. And now it's asking me for a user account. So I'm going to hit enter. And my user is going to be the same one I always use, Mitch. And a display name. I don't know what the differences between username and display name is, but I'm going to type in Mitch. Enter the password for Mitch. Enter the password again for Mitch. And a bunch of these are set on. They're turned on by default. And I'm just going to leave it the way it is. I'm not going to change anything here. And I'm going to hit enter. Now it's asking for a bootloader. So I'm going to hit enter. And I gave this virtual machine a 50 gig hard drive. And that's it there. So I'm going to hit enter. Use a graphical terminal for the bootloader. The default is yes, and I'm going to click on yes. Partition the disks. Partition the 50 gig hard drive? Yes. I'm going to hit enter. You want to use CF disk or F disk? Well, I always use CF disk when I'm doing a manual install of Arch Linux. So let's go into CF disk. Hit enter. For bio, there's information here. I'm not going to read it for you. If you decide to install Void Linux, you can read it yourself. Okay. So I'm going to hit enter. And I'm just going to go down and do a DOS partition. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to partition the disk the way I do when I do my manual install of Arch Linux. And I've done quite a few videos on that. So I'm not talking about using the automated Arch installer, but I've done lots of videos where I manually install Arch Linux, and I'm just going to partition it the same way. Okay. So you can see up there, I got a 50 gig hard drive. I'm going to hit new, and I'm going to backspace it. I'm going to make a 1 gig partition. I'm going to make it primary. I'm going to use my arrows to go to bootable. Then I'm going to use my down arrows to go to the free space, which is I have 49 gigs of free space. I'm going to click on new. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to hit enter again to make it primary. I'm going to make this bootable as well. I'm just doing this the same way I do it when I do a manual install of Arch Linux. So that's bootable. And now I'm going to use my arrows. And you can't see this, so I'm going to shut my face off. So I'm using my arrows now. So I got the two partitions, VDA1 and VDA2, and of course it's a virtual machine that I made in Virt Manager. And I have a partition, a boot partition of 1 gig and a 49 gig partition for my installation. So now I'm going to use my arrows to go to right. I'm going to highlight right. I'm going to hit enter. Are you sure you want to write the partition table to the disk? I'm going to type in yes. I'm going to hit enter. Then I'm going to use my arrows to quit. Now I'm going to bring my face back. We partitioned the disks. Now we're going to make a file system. So I'm going to highlight it and put enter. And I'm going to have to make a file system for VDA1. So I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to go down to ext4. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to put a slash here, a forward slash, hit enter. And I'm just going to say yes. Now I'm going to use my arrows to go to VDA2, and I'm going to make a file system for VDA2. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to go down to ext4, and I'm going to put the forward slash in, and hit enter. I'm going to say yes, and I made a file system for there. Now I'm going to use my arrow keys to go to done. I'm going to hit enter. Then I'm going to go down, and I'm going to install it. I'm going to hit enter. Warning, it's going to erase everything on your hard drive. Yes, I know. And it's showing at the top the two partitions you made. So I'm going to hit enter. And it's going through an install. And what's really amazing is that this install is really fast. Anyways, I'm going to pause the video for a moment and I'll be back. That didn't take long. It only took a few minutes and I even got out of my chair. So would you like to reboot into the system? Yes. And now we're booting into the system. And I'm going to make it full screen because this is a virtual machine. And we're at the login screen, which is like DM, my favorite login screen, or my favorite display manager. So I'm going to type in my password, and we're loading up the Xfce desktop environment. And first thing I'm going to do is change the display. I say this in all my videos because it's a virtual machine. I have to do this. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go for search. Display. Let's launch this display. And I'm going to change this to 1360 by 768. I can apply it. Keep the configuration and close it. There we go. And of course, if you're installing this in bare metal, you don't have to do that. So this is the Xfce desktop environment. You know, you got your clock up here. You have your menu here. Your volume control is here, obviously. You can click this one and log out or reboot. You have applications here. Your internet is Firefox. You can also right click and get to your applications. They have pulse audio volume controls installed. You have not a lot of stuff. Like there's no Office in here. It's very lightweight, and I guess that's why the ISO is only 1.1 gigabytes, when most other distributions have a huge ISO. Oh yeah, there's the Parole Media Player. I've never used that before. That's interesting. And of course, the Xfce terminal emulator is installed. And what I'm going to do is, to make that font larger, if you hold the Shift button down and the Control button, so you hold the Shift and the Control button down at the same time, and you use your mouse wheel, you can make it bigger. So the first thing you should do when you install a distribution is do an update. So the update here is not going to be too big because this ISO is only, I think, 2 or 3 weeks old. So what you're going to do is type in sudo xbps dash install, leave a space, dash capital SU. So the S, the capital S stands for system, and the U stands for update. So then I'm going to hit enter. It's asking for my password, so I'm going to put my password in. And these are the things that it's updating. So we just scan up, not a heck of a lot. You can see Firefox is getting updated. Network Manager. This here is the kernel. So of course, when you update the kernel, you always have to do a reboot. So we're going to update this and do a reboot. Okay. So here you have to, the capital Y is the default. So let's hit enter, and it's doing the update. So this update probably takes about 5 minutes, maybe a little less than 5 minutes. And I'm going to pause the video. So don't go away. Wow, that was really fast. I probably didn't even have to pause the video. So what I'm going to do is, because there was a kernel update, I'm going to do a reboot. Oh, and when you're rebooting or powering down in Void Linux, you have to do sudo. I'm going to do sudo reboot. And there we are, we're at the login screen. So I'm going to put my password in. And so now we've installed the system and we've updated it. Now I'm going to make a lot of changes to it because I do like the Xfce desktop environment. I do like it, but I've never lived in it. And really, I'm not a desktop environment person. I'm a window manager person. And just in case you haven't been following my channel and you don't watch my videos, maybe this is the first time you're watching me, I'm a window manager person. So I spend most of my time in the awesome window manager. And I also have one computer where I spend time in that computer using the Qtile window manager. I'm going to install those. I'm going to install my configuration files from my GitLab repository. I'm going to install some other apps, and I'm going to make a lot of changes rather than just give you a tour of this. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up my terminal. And I'm going to hold down the Shift key and the Control, because this is the Xfce terminal emulator. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and the Control at the same time, and I'm going to hit my mouse. Use my mouse wheel. So I'm holding down the Shift key and the Control, and I'm using my mouse wheel to make it larger font so it's easier for you to see in the video. And the first thing I'm going to do is install Git, because Git's not installed. And I can't do an htop for you because htop is not installed. And I can't do a neofetch for you because neofetch is not installed. So I'm going to install a bunch of my favorite apps. Office is not installed. LibreOffice. So I'm going to install a lot of my favorite apps, my GitLab repository, make changes, and do what I always do. Only it's a little bit different than Void Linux. So let's do git. So you have to do sudo xbps dash install git. Oh, I gotta put my password in. Hit enter again, and it's installing git. And git is installed. I'm going to clear the screen. Now I'm going to install my GitLab repository. So I'm going to do git clone https://gitlab.com/artibus1/mensch.git. Now, if this is too hard for you to remember, this command is in the show notes of all my videos. And I'm going to hit enter. And I'm cloning my GitLab repository now. If you already have my GitLab repository downloaded and you're installing my configuration files, you want to do a git pull. Because I added a new folder today with my configuration files specifically designed to work in Void Linux. So if you're going to install Void Linux and you want to use my configuration files, but you already installed my GitLab repository a while back, then today you want to do a git pull. So what you would do is cd into, so if you ls, so you see I have a mensch folder here now, right? So you're going to cd into mensch. This would be only if you, so you're going to cd into mensch, you're going to clear the screen, and if you downloaded this a while back, then you're going to do a git pull. Hit enter, and here it says already up to date because I just downloaded it. But if you downloaded my GitLab repository a while back, and you go into the folder and do a git pull, it's going to update the system. So now I'm going to do an ls. And you can see here, this void folder is brand new. I just put that in today. And in that folder, I have all my favorite configuration files, but I changed them. I made changes to them so that they work and function properly with Void Linux. Okay. So what I'm going to do is cd into void. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to ls a, and these are all the files. And there's some wallpapers in here. There's all kinds of files. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at this auto app file. Okay. So I'm going, and it's not the same as my auto app file in Arch Linux, if you've been following my channels. So I'm going to do less auto app. We're going to take a look at it. So this is an install file in case you're brand new to my channel. And if you've been following my channel, I've revised this. It's not the same as the one in my Arch Linux. So this, if you run this command, or it's a script, if you run this script, it's going to install the Awesome Window Manager, HTOP, LibreOffice, LX Appearance, NeoFetch, PCMan FM, which is a file manager, Pulse Audio, Qtile, Rhythmbox, your Firewall, Vim, a volume icon that's going to work in my window managers, Xorg, Xrandr, Xterm, my favorite terminal emulator, and Xfce. Okay, so you don't have to run this, but I'm going to run this. It's gonna install the full LibreOffice suite. Okay, so let's quit out of there. And of course, if you've been following my channel, that file is a lot smaller than the script that I have for my Arch Linux post install. Anyways, I'm going to clear the screen and I'm going to do a period dash auto. Okay, I'm going to hit enter. It's going to ask for my password, and it's installing all these apps and files. So this takes about 5 minutes. So I'm going to pause the video and come back. So don't go away. That finished, and I like this message you get here. It tells you 202 downloaded, 202 installed, 0 updated, 202 configured, and 0 removed. I like that. So now I'm going to clear the screen. And I'm going to ls a again. And I'm going to go less into run configs. So this is another script that I have, and it's a bit smaller than the one that's in my Arch Linux. folder. And so the first line is going to copy some configuration files into your home directory. The second file is going to add 4 wallpapers into your home directory. The third line is going to copy my awesome window manager and my Qtile window manager configuration files into the home directory. This line here is going to copy my Xfce configuration file into root. This bottom paragraph is going to set up the firewall. And also too, just in case you've used my configuration files before, the commands for setting up the firewall are a little bit different because than it would be in this file that I have in my Arch folder, because Arch uses systemd and Void Linux doesn't use systemd, it's using runit. So you can see here, this line is different. Okay. Anyways, let's get out of there. You don't have to run this script, but I'm going to run it. So I'm going to clear the screen and I'm going to do /run. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to put my password in and we're done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cd out of there, back to home. I'm going to clear the screen and I'm going to type in sudo vim etc password. Put my password in and I'm going to make the default shell to be Xfce because I like Xfce. So I'm going to change this sh to Xfce, and I'm going to just scan down to mensch. I'm going to go to the end. I'm going to change the bash to Xfce, and I'm going to save the file, and I'm going to close the terminal. And I'm going to log out and back in. Let's log out. Let's go back in. And now I'm going to open up my application finder and I'm going to type in Xterm and I'm going to launch Xterm. And there we have it. We are in Xterm with my configuration file, which has the black screen and the nicer, larger, easy to read font. And if you want the font to be larger, you could hold the shift button down and hit your plus sign. Okay, hit it again, and there it's larger. If you want to go smaller, you could hold your shift button down and hit the minus sign, and that makes it smaller. And if you want to change the default font for Xterm, you could do this. LL, and we're going to vim into this xresources file. Okay, so we're going to do vim period capital X resources, and you could just change this 15 to 16, 17, 18, whatever size you want. Or if you want the default font to be smaller, you could change it to 13 or 12 or whatever. Okay. And let's just get out of there. Like I said, you can make the font larger or smaller by holding down the shift key and hitting the plus or the minus sign. Plus makes it larger. Minus makes it smaller. Okay, well, that's really small. Okay, so let's clear the screen. And now my helper is here. This is Hope. She likes to come and help me when I'm recording, and I don't throw her off the table. I let her sit with me and record. And I'm going to log out. I'm going to hit this to log out. And now I'm going to go up here to this one here, not the US, not the little man there. And we're going to click on Qtile, and I'm going to log into Qtile. Configuration, this is my Qtile configuration file with my wallpaper. Now Qtile is not mouse driven, it's keyboard driven. So if I hold the Windows key down and hit the F, it's going to open up Firefox. Okay. And if I hold the Shift key and the Windows key down and hit the C, it's going to close Firefox. And actually, once you have an application open, you can use your mouse to close it. Right? You know, when you're in the applications, your mouse works, right? Now let's do, if I hold the Control key down and the Mod key, and hit the P. It's going to open up PCman FM. There's my file manager. And you can close it. So I'm not going to stay in Qtile for long. So let's log out of there. Control. So to get out of there, you're going to do Shift, Windows key, hold down your Shift and the Windows key at the same time, and hit the Q. That's going to get you out of there. And let's go to the awesome window manager and put my password in. Now we're in the awesome window manager with my configuration file. And the awesome window manager is more friendlier to use. We have a right menu here for Firefox. You can close it there. I haven't configured Firefox yet in this virtual machine. Hardened it to the way I like it and so forth. Now what I want to do, and there's also a built-in menu that comes with the awesome window manager. So if you hold your mod key down and hit the P, or actually hold your Windows key down. One time someone didn't know what I was talking about when I said the mod key. So if you hold the Windows key down and hit the P, a menu comes up here. But you can't use your mouse with it though. So if you type in, because I don't have everything in this menu here. So let's type in custom, hit enter. And I'm going to click on Ottawa Dark icon theme. Let's just go with the Ottawa. Let's apply it. Now let's open up PCman FM, the file manager. And there we have nice color. Dark theme, right? And this theming will also stick when I go back into Qtile window manager. Now let's hold down the Windows key and hit the P and type in power. So I don't like my screen going off or my computer going to sleep or anything like that. I'm going to click on display. And I'm going to bring these lines down to 0. It's kind of hard to see because it is a dark theme. So really what I'm doing is I'm turning off the power manager or turning it on. So I don't like my computer to go to sleep or my screen to go off. And that power manager setting is also going to stick for Qtile. So for instance, if I quit out of here, and go back into Qtile, so I'm going to hold down the control key, the mod key, and the P to open up PCman FM. Now we see we have PCman FM is in dark theme here as well. Okay, so Shift mod key C closes it. Shift Windows key. Shift Windows key C closes it. Shift Windows key Q gets me out of there. And I'm just going to go back into the awesome window manager because it's friendlier to use, right? A little more user friendly. And let's open up a terminal. Let's go to Xterm. And we can Shift plus sign makes it a little larger. And now what I'm going to do is reboot. And when you do a reboot, you have to do sudo in void Linux. So sudo reboot. Put my password in. And we're at the login screen, so I'm going to put my password in. And it's going to go back into awesome because that's the last one we were in. And we are going to do an htop after a fresh boot. And we're running at 206 megabytes of RAM. So in this virtual machine, as always, I gave it 4 processors, 4 gigs of RAM, and 0 swap. And out of my 4 gigs of RAM, we're running at 206 megabytes of RAM. Not bad. Now let's quit out of there. Let's close it. Let's quit. Now, just out of curiosity, I want to go into Qtile and see what kind of a RAM we're using. And of course, I can't open up htop with my mouse. But in Qtile, if you hold down the Windows key and press the H, it's going to open up htop. So we're at it the same. We're at 207 megabytes of RAM. Qtile is using the same amount of RAM as the awesome window manager. So Shift Windows C closes it. Shift Windows Q gets me out of there. I'm going to go back into Awesome, because I know it's easier to use, especially for the video. So in here we have, I installed, let's go back here. Let's go to NeoFetch. And you can see I'm in Void Linux. 217 megabytes of RAM. I'm in the Xfce. My kernel. I'm in Void Linux here. You know how to read this, right? I'm in the Awesome Window Manager. So let's clear the screen. Let's see if my firewall is running. So let's do sudo uncomplicated firewall status. Put my password in. And it's showing the firewall is active. If you want to see what my rules are, you could leave a space and do verbose. And the status is active. Deny incoming, allow outgoing. Okay, let's clear the screen. Now to update the system, you're going to do sudo xbps install -SU. And the capital S stands for system and the U stands for update. And I already mentioned this earlier in the video. If you want to add a program, you have to know what the name is, and you can look it up on their website. But you're going to do sudo xbps. Let's say you wanted to add Firefox. Now Firefox is already installed. Let's say you wanted to add it. You do install, leave a space, and type in Firefox. Hit enter and we'll install it. If you wanted to remove Firefox, you would just do remove. Okay, so it'd be like that: sudo xbps -remove space and the name of the app you want to remove. If you installed my configuration files, and if you're using my Xfce configuration file and the one that I specifically made for Void Linux, then you can do this. If you want to install a program, just type in, let's say you wanted to install Firefox. You would just type in install, leave a space, Firefox, and it's going to install it. If it's in the system, if it's in the repo, and if you've spelled it right. Okay? And if you want to remove a program and you're using my Xfce configuration file, you just type in remove Firefox and it's going to remove it. Now, again, if you're using my Xfce configuration file and you want to do an update, you want to update your system, just type in update, hit enter. It's going to ask for your password and it's going to update the system. Okay, so let's try it. Now I can't believe there's an update to do. I just updated the system. Wow. Oh yes, I forgot. Void Linux is a rolling release. It's a stable rolling release. So I don't know what that means. Does it mean it rolls a little bit less than Arch Linux? I don't know. So there's an update to do, so let's do it. That's done. See, when downloaded, when updated, when configured. Okay, so that's it. So if you're using my Xfce configuration file, update, enter. Install, name of app, enter. Remove, name of app, and it will remove the app. Now, let's say you're the type of person that doesn't want to use a login manager. You want to log in from the TTY with StartX. So you want to turn off the Light DM, the login manager, or actually, really it's called the display manager. You want to turn it off so when you boot up, you don't go into there. You just go into the TTY and start with StartX. Then you're going to do this. Light DM. You're going to type in Light DM off. If you're not using my Xfce configuration file, there's a more complicated command to type in the terminal. But if you're using my Xfce configuration file, just type in Light DM off. Now, if I hit enter, it's going to take me to a black screen. So let's hit enter and see what happens. Now, what happened? Well, it's not broken. It turned off Light DM. So right now it's off, and it's also going to be off when you reboot. But we don't have to reboot. but I'm going to anyways. What you have to do is you have to open up another TTY. So if this is bare metal, you're going to hold down your control key and the alt key at the same time, and you're going to hit F3 or F4, anywhere from F1 to F6. Okay? So like I said, you're going to hold down the control key and the alt key and hit F2 or F3 or F4 or whatever. Okay? So because this is a virtual machine, I can't do that. So I'm going to do this. Let's go into Control Alt 4. Now I'm going to type in my username, Mensch. I'm going to put my password in. And now I'm going to make it larger font. So I'm going to do set font tier -132B. Yes, nice. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to reboot. Let's reboot. Oh, and to reboot, you got to do sudo reboot. Put my password in, and if it worked, and I know it did, when I reboot, it's going to take me right to the TTY where I can type in startx and get into my window manager. Light DM is turned off. Get rid of that. There we are. Now that big arrow was there just because this is a virtual machine and I have 2 monitors. Okay, let's look how fast it loaded up. So now I'm going to type in my username, Mensch. I'm going to put my password in. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to do set font. Now this part you don't have to do. Here, -132B. And I'm going to clear the screen. And just for the fun of it, let's do an HTOP. So now we're running at 96 megabytes of RAM. Gotta love that, eh? 96 megabytes of RAM. It's a little bit dark, so I don't know if you can see it. Yes, sir. 96 megabytes RAM, so let's quit out of there. Let's do... Now, what I'm going to do is vim into xinit rc. And this is going to control where you log into from the TTY. So if you go down here, I have awesome is uncommented. So if I do startx, it's going to take me into awesome. If I want to go into Qtile, I'm going to put the number sign in front of awesome and take the number sign off of Qtile. If I want to go into the Xfce desktop environment, then I'm going to take the comment out of there or the number sign off there, and I'm going to put the number sign in front of awesome. Okay. So let's do that. Let's go into Qtile. Let's put the number sign in. Let's delete the number sign from Qtile. Let's save the file. Let's clear the screen. Let's type in startx. It's going to take us into Qtile. There we are. We're in Qtile. In Qtile, if I hold down the Windows key and hit the H, it's going to open up HTOP. So we're running at 204 megabytes of RAM. Well, pretty much the same as before. And if I hold down the Shift and the Windows key and hit Q, it's going to take me out of there. So let's do vim xinit rc, and let's put the sign in there. Let's see if we can get into Xfce. So take the number sign away from start Xfce4 and save the file. Let's do startx. And now we're in Xfce. So now I'm going to log out. Let's log out. And let's go back into vim xinit rc. And let's put the number sign in front of there. Let's delete the number sign from awesome. Let's save the file. Let's startx. Now another thing I want to do is, now let's say you don't like logging in from the TTY with startx because it's too much of a hassle going in between window managers and desktop environment, and you like light DM. Then to start light DM, you're just going to type in this command. If you're using my Xfce configuration file, then you're just going to type in this command. Light DM on. Hit enter. Put your password in. and Light DM is on. And even if we reboot, it's going to take you to Light DM. Let's just try it. Let's go to a restart. Let's restart it. And you don't have to restart it, but I'm just showing you that when you use that command, it's going to turn on Light DM. So when you reboot into the system, it's going to take you to Light DM. It's not going to take you to the TTY. There you go. We're in Light DM. We can pick which one we want to log into. So let's log into Awesome. Oh yeah, so I have Office installed. Let's go to Spreadsheets. There's LibreOffice Calc, which is a spreadsheet program. It's the first time I'm opening it in this virtual machine. And this is a bit off. So what I'm going to do is go to Tools. I'm going to go to Options. I'm going to go to View. I'm going to change the icon theme to Breeze Dark. Apply it. Okay it. Oh, that's better. That's the spreadsheet program. Let's close it. Let's say you want to open up a Word document. You have that. Let's say we want to open up Rhythmbox, which is a music player that I installed. But I don't have any music in here. It's just a brand new virtual machine, right? Let's put the volume up. There you go. And let's go to HTOP. We're running at 236 now. 236 megabytes of RAM. And let's close it. And of course, if something doesn't open in here, like some of these programs aren't installed, like for instance, I have Kden Live in the menu here, but it's not installed. So if I click it on, nothing happens. But if you install Kden Live and you click it on, this menu is going to work. And the same with OBS and OpenShot. OBS and OpenShot are not installed. So if you do use my script and you're clicking this on, don't think that it's broken. It's because in my install script, I didn't install OBS. I didn't install Nemo. I didn't install OBS or Kden Live or OpenShot or Vert Manager. They're just there because they're in the menu of my configuration for the Awesome Window Manager. But if you install them, the menu will work. Now, let's say we want to go back to the Xfce desktop environment. Let's quit out of there. Let's go up here. Let's go back to Xfce. Put my password in. And now we're back in the Xfce desktop environment. Let's open up here. Let's open up Xterm. Hit enter. Let's make it full screen. Let's do an HTOP here. And whew, wow, that's really low. So in the Xfce desktop environment, we're only running at 346 megabytes of RAM. That is extremely low for a full-fledged desktop environment. Now, Xfce runs low no matter what distribution you're using. It's probably the lowest running desktop environment in the whole Linux world. Now, it doesn't run as low as window managers, but I would say it's the lowest desktop environment in Linux as far as using RAM. But here it's really low. Like 346 megabytes of RAM, that is low. So let's close out of there. There's our volume control. We have a microphone control. I'm going to go back into the Awesome Window Manager because it's my favorite. So I'm going to log out. Let's log out. I spend most of my time in the Awesome Window Manager, and I do all my recording. My production is in the Awesome Window Manager. And of course, you know that if you've been following my channel. And I also copied configuration file for Vim. Let's see if it's working. Let's Vim into my ZSRC. And it is. Got my numbers in there. Beautiful. Now I want to see if something else is working. Whoops. I don't want to save it. Let's do a new file. Because my Vim configuration file gets rid of the tilde. So let's do Vim test, text, and the tilde is gone. You know what the tildes are, the squiggly lines. So if you're not using my Vim configuration file, you're going to get the tilde. On a brand new file, you're going to have a line. Let's say you have 3 lines of text. Then down below, you're going to have all the tildes going all the way down. So my configuration file gets rid of that. Okay. And, oops, let's open up a terminal. And that's it. In this video, I showed you how to download and install Void Linux. And I showed you how I would change it and reconfigure it to the way I like it to be, with all my favorite apps and window managers and so forth. And I also created a special folder with configuration files in it specifically made for Void Linux in my GitLab repository. And I showed you how to download it and use it, and it's free for you to download as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I am the Linux Mensch.